you have two schools of thought: the active investing and the index funds. The narrative of the people that are proponents of active investing is that anybody that is putting their money in the index fund is a sucker. They're lame, they can't get the job done, and that's why they're giving their money to somebody else to invest. The narrative of the person that are in the index funds that are proponents of that particular camp are: everybody that's an active investor is not as smart as they think they are. They're going to end up poor and desolate as they get older because the market's going to tank on them. And the only way they're going to be successful at active investing is to dedicate every minute of their life to learn how to be an active investor. What we're going to talk about in this video is the pros and cons of each approach. Therefore, you can make a better decision because you're better informed. So you got two schools of camp. You got the active investing or you got the index funds. The argument for index funds is you can get involved in that particular area so you can just sit back and get your return. The argument for active investing is you can control your investing. You have control over, right, the outcome. There's no one size fits all. It's based on your self-image. It's also based on your goals. However, let's go into the pros and cons of each approach. Looking at active investing. Now, the goal of active investing is to beat the overall S&P 500 or either match the overall S&P 500. Another goal is to have control. Many people want to feel like I have control over where my money's going. I've made the money, I've taken the risk, I've worked really hard, and I want to have control. Often they may not trust other people to manage their money on their behalf. And that control, that desire for control, that desire for autonomy, that desire for really independence is something that really, really drives this mindset, this perspective. Therefore, many of them would rather take the risk to keep the control. They would rather take the risk to keep the autonomy. They would rather take the risk to have the independence. And that's something that a lot of people need to understand, especially if you don't desire those things. Therefore, if you don't desire to have the control, to have the autonomy, to have the independence, you may not understand why they're willing to take the risk to be in those positions. However, that is really the underlying emotional desire of this group. They're also willing to keep learning about the market, and they enjoy being an expert in that area. Many people that are active investors, they will study the market the same way some people study sports teams. You have people that know everybody that plays on a roster. You have people that know what's the latest update coming out of training camp for a particular football team. You have people on the internet that can tell me that Lil Wayne is a Damu because of Mac 10, even though Lil Wayne don't claim the same neighborhood as Mac 10. But they just think they know this because they've read everything on YouTube, and they've read everything on Twitter, and they've read everything on the blog sites about Lil Wayne. This is what they're into. They're into being an expert on celebrities. You have people that know what Kanye West is going to do on Twitter and the reason why he's doing it. You have people that know the reason why Frank Ocean wrote this particular song. This is what they're into. You also have people that are willing to learn about the market, and they enjoy being an expert in that area. It's not work to them. It's really fun. They're interested. Therefore, they may feel comfortable active investing because learning about the market and being in the market and reading market-based publications is really entertainment to them. It's fun. And also, they don't trust other people having an outsized control over their wealth. What do I mean by that? If you are a person and you work yourself into a six-figure net worth position, you work yourself into a six-figure cash position, you've worked yourself into a position to where you now have some assets. You may not trust people having outsized control over your wealth. And what I mean is that you may not feel comfortable handing your wealth that you've broken your neck to create to another group of people, and you're not even really aware of what they're doing with your money. You're just handing it to them. Now, quote unquote, they have to act as fiduciaries, right? They're legally supposed to do that. But let me explain something to you. Somebody acting as a fiduciary doesn't mean, right, that the market can't tank. Therefore, if they can show you that historically this particular situation has created this return, however, past performance is not an indicator of future performance, and that's going to be in every prospectus that they're going to give you. That's going to be their disclaimer. You can take their advice and we can have a massive downturn in the market. And the money that you gave them, right, could essentially get evaporated. You could lose 70, 80% of it. You cannot sue them because you would have to prove in court that they gave you advice or they gave you counsel that was not in, right, your best interest. And they will be able to show that based on, this particular framework, we did the same type of SOP or the same type of workflow that we done for all of our clients based on his net worth and his goals. And we essentially template advice to everybody. So it's called personal finance, but it's really not personal. It's really very templated because they got to be able to show that we have a way of delivering this particular type of advice to people based on this workflow that's somewhat been systematized, right? And therefore, if you deal with certain organizations, they're going to just point you into certain areas or certain products that they sell because that's what they do for a business. And if it goes bad, you're not going to be able to take them to court and get your money from them. It doesn't work that way. If you can show that they did something egregious, but they did the same thing for you that they do for everybody else, it's not going to work. Okay? And those are some of the basic points for active investing. Now, here's some of the pros for active investing. You have the control that you desire. One of the biggest reasons why people go into active investing is because they want control. They want independence. They want autonomy with their capital. That is very important to them. And for people where those particular things are not as important, right, then they don't see the big deal. But that's just how humans break down. Certain people want independence in certain areas. They don't mind being dependent in another area. Some people want to be food independent. They don't want to feel like I got to depend on commercial grocery outlets to get my food. They want to have their own food. Other people really want to get all their meat out of the field. They prefer to hunt all their meat. They do not want to be dependent upon a commercial grocer to get their meat. The majority of the country depends on a commercial grocer to get their meat. And they're fine with that. They have confidence that this commercial grocer will continue to deliver meat to me. There are some people who are not comfortable depending upon that commercial grocer. They'd rather just go get their meat out of the field. Now, if you go hunting, you can get hurt, right? You can get injured. There's no chance that you're going to be successful, but they would rather do that than depend on a commercial grocer who is getting their meat from a food source where they don't necessarily 100% trust the food source. You got to really understand that. So people sometimes, to get the control that they desire, are willing to take a risk that another person that doesn't desire that control is not willing to take. Another pro is you can pick growth stocks and get massive returns from being heavily invested in a smaller basket. Many people that are into growth stocks will they're into active investing, will invest in growth stocks, and will go very heavy or very deep into a rabbit hole of a smaller basket of stocks that they believe are going to give them outsized growth. And when it works, they have fabulous returns. When it doesn't work, they don't get those same type of returns, but they're willing to take that risk to get that return. And there's a lot of legacy reasons behind that type of mindset that I don't think a lot of people are willing to get into. But, everybody does not start from the same point as an investor. And many times people will feel like because I'm not in a certain position, I have to take on more risk to get to where I want to go. And we're going to kind of talk about that later in this particular video. Now, some of the cons of active investing. If you pick the wrong stocks, you're going to lose big until you exit. If you're an active investor and you're wrong on the stocks that you've picked, you're going to just lose big until you decide to cut the play. If you don't desire to be an expert and keep learning, the strategy of being an active investor may not work long term. If you don't really like the financial markets, if you're not interested in financial content, it's not something that you're really into. It may be difficult for you to try to do this by watching 2 YouTube videos. You got to decide this is really what you want to do, and then keep learning, right, how your strategy is going to continue to get the returns that you desire for the lifestyle that you want to live in the future. Another thing, you can't piggyback long term. This idea that I'm going to go buy this book from, a vendor, and I'm going to learn about the Warren Buffett strategy, and I'm just going to mirror his strategy. Well, his strategy may work because of the amount of capital he has. You may have to figure out what strategy works for you, and it may take time to figure out your strategy. That is the basic fundamentals of investing. There's certain things that you can learn, like value investing, things of that nature. But you got to be willing to learn that. And it has to be something that you enjoy doing, because if you don't like to do it, you're not going to do it long term. Now let's talk about passive investing, because this is where a lot of people say the average American should go. They should just be a passive investor. They shouldn't buy any courses. They shouldn't watch CNBC. They should just go passive invest. And there's a lot of reasons why people say that. Now, some people say that, to be real with you, they're trying to protect their position. Just like there's a reason why doctors, right, will give you medicine for blood sugar instead of let's do a national program to teach people how to eat properly. Why? Because the first one, right, protects their industry. The second one eliminates a category of drugs. It eliminates a category of customers and things of that nature. Now, I'm not saying, and I don't want people to take this the wrong way, I'm not saying that I have a belief that you can cure diabetes. Not saying that. I don't want people to take that the wrong way, because it's illegal to say that. However, I do believe that certain medical conditions can be treated successfully, right? However, it doesn't necessarily always benefit the professionals to inform you about those things, because their business model is based on, right, you needing them for this. Therefore, if I'm working in a particular space and I'm needed because people don't know about something, well, why would I ever want them to know about it? That's going to eliminate my, right, space in the market. That's going to eliminate my positioning, right? So I think that's one of the biggest arguments for everybody that is a big fan of passive investing from a professional standpoint, is that I need people to passive invest. Why? Because that's part of my positioning. I need you to be here. Now, some of the points of passive investing, right? You want to match you want to match the overall S&P 500. So the goal of, investing in an index fund is not to beat the overall S&P 500. Pretty much you're just going to match it. It's hands off. You don't have to touch it. So the benefit is that, you can be a 9-to-5 working person, and you can put your money into one of these index funds, which essentially is designed to replace a pensions, which they've gotten rid of, right? And then you can just keep working, and you can worry about who's going to win the Super Bowl. You can worry about Kanye West and the issues with his ex-wife or his former to be ex-wife. You can worry about what this politician said or didn't say. And these people behind the scenes are going to be managing your money and making you believe that, when I retire, there's going to be something there for me that's going to allow me to live the life that I desire, because I got professionals managing my money for me. So then therefore, I don't have to be consumed with anything, right, based on my personal finances outside of maybe a budget, because I got these professionals who are managing my money for me, and they're going to be way better at doing it than I would be at myself, right? Third thing, you believe you're never going to be smart enough to actively invest. You don't believe you have the intelligence, right? And you don't want to learn it. So you don't believe I'm ever going to be smart enough. And then if I make a mistake, then that'll be confirmation that I'm not smart enough. So then therefore, let me hand it off to another group of people and let them do it. Another point is long-term plays work best for the long term. So one of the biggest arguments in favor of passive investing, index investing, is that the long-term benefits are going to work best for the long term. Therefore, if you're 25 years old, 35 years old, 45 years old, 55 years old, it doesn't matter. If you're looking to be in the market over a decade, it's best to just put it in an index fund and let it ride out, because we're looking for performance over the long term. Okay, now here's some of the pros of passive investing, right? You have the lack of control that you desire. Many people that are involved in the passive investing, they do not want to actively be involved in that management. They don't. So they now have the lack of control that they've always desired. Also understand, the overall market is designed to go up long term. The American stock market is designed to go up long term. It is. This is how it works. That's the design. Will you have sell-offs? Yes, because that's also how it works. It's a market. But the long-term goal of the U.S. stock market is to continue to go up, to continue to increase in value. 3, consistency over the long term wins. In any investment space, if it's a solid investment that has proven to show a return historically, normally, unless that market, right, just essentially becomes null and void, right, it's consistency over the long term wins, right? That's normally how it happens. Now, here's some of the cons. Most people don't have the capital to invest the amount needed to get the return they desire in money. This is the big thing that nobody really wants to deal with. And this is one of the reasons why I was happy to become an associate of Erica Williams on this online platforms, because some of the things that she talked about is that, you know, the goal is to get 1 million black people, right, to make $100,000 a year. Because I can go look at BLS data and show that most people don't even make $50,000 a year. Therefore, the challenge is that how do they get enough capital to put into a passive fund to generate the dollar amount? See, let me explain something to you. 10% is 10%, but there's a difference between 10% of $100,000, right, and 10% of $5,000. And if you're making $35,000, $40,000 a year, how much money can you put into these funds? So let's say we look at a fund. I forgot which Vanguard fund I looked at, and I'm not promoting Vanguard. I just forgot about which Vanguard fund I looked at, and it was like, I want to say maybe $200 to $300 for that fund. Okay, so where do you find the money to do that? Because most of the Vanguard funds don't allow for fractional. Therefore, you got to be able to get that full amount to get to one share. They don't allow for fractional. Many of the individual stocks allow for fractional, but we don't do individual stocks. We're doing indexes. Therefore, if we can't get in fractionally, how do we get in? Because now we may not be able to do, right, $200 a week. So now we got this people saying, okay, we'll do $5 a day. You know, you may be able to pull that off. So let's say 5 times 30, right? So that's 150. Okay, so you're still going to be probably a little bit under, right, what it may take to get into that overall Vandex ETF on a monthly level. But let's just say you can on the 150. Right, let's say you can do that. So now over times the 12, right? Right? So you get to 150. You get 12 shares a year at the 150. Okay. The question is, how does that work for you long term? Because if you get 12 shares a year, right? So over 10 years, you have 120 shares. Now, that's nothing to laugh at. That's better than nothing. Something is always better than nothing in the market. However, right, how does that help you long term? So the challenge for a lot of people, right, that are looking at doing passive investing, index investing, is they may not have enough money to put into the market to get the return. And that's a conversation we're not having, because the data is showing us on average what people return in income. Now, I can talk about budgeting. I can talk about having a safe harbor. Some people call it an emergency fund. I can talk about all of those things. However, right, if you don't have the money coming in, right, how is the money going to come out? There's no such thing as an output that doesn't involve the input. This is just basic electrical engineering, right? So if the input is not there, how do we create the output? And that's something that we're not having a conversation. And because so many of our people will deny the fact that they don't make enough money, they will deny it. We're able to keep this lie going around, well, okay, all you got to do is 1, 2, 3. Well, the issue is you really don't have enough of an input to create the output. You know, there's a reason why so many Americans have to live on credit. So you can tell them to get rid of your debt all you want to, right? But so many Americans have to live on credit. We have millions of Americans that we're calling working poor people. Well, they work and they're still poor. Work 40 hours a week though, but they're still poor. You know, so the question is, how do they chip off enough money to even make a difference in 20 years if the inputs aren't there? And that's the conversation nobody really wants to have, because like I said before, is that I can't admit that there's not a need for me now, because, right, we got to get people to a certain level. So that's like the issue. There's no need for harvesters until we plant, right? So until we plant the seed and the actual crop comes out of the ground, I don't need harvesters. If I have more harvesters, Then I have plants that have actually come out of the ground, right? What do I need all these harvesters for? But in the mind of a harvester, well, all you got to do is give me something to harvest. I don't have anything. And so that's the issue, is that most people, right, don't really have the capital to invest the amount that they need to get the return in dollar amount. Because 10% of $1,000 is not going to change somebody's life over 20 years. So they have to be having the inputs to get it in. Now, what if they don't make enough money to have the inputs? And that's something that most people aren't really to have. Next con, right? Done for you services were traditionally designed for high net worth individuals. They're pronounced, and I'm going to say this incorrectly because I don't speak French. Peace to all my Haitians. Is that I think they're called I can't even pronounce this word, man. It's CONCIERGE. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. Right? Those type of services were designed for high net worth individuals. That's pretty much what they were designed for. So in the marketing space, we call them done for you services, where you pay a certain amount of money and they do everything for you. We'll build out your whole marketing campaign for you. You just pay us the money, pay us 50 grand. We'll build it all out. We will build out we'll build you a proprietary software, right? For your business. Just pay us, 100 grand. We'll build it all out. We'll support it. We'll do the upgrades, the whole 9 yards. Those type of services, right, were traditionally created for high net worth individuals. There's a really good movie called Tenet, and we're going to show a slide for that on this particular video. And the brother goes to this place. They're called, they're like tax havens for people that have art that they don't want to get taxed. So they're called free ports. I'm sorry about that. And so the brother goes to a free port with his partner, and they kind of explain, like, this is what we need to do to make sure we protect art. So they presented themselves as clients, but really I think they was looking to do something, in regards to like the Secret Service or whatever. So he had his partner in that particular Secret Service outfit that he was part of get the guy to kind of give him a rundown of how these free ports work. And they're very much for high net worth individuals. So they do everything for you so you don't have to do it, but you're paying a lot of money for that. It's not just for the run of the mill person. And then they go through a lot of, I don't know what this proper word is, but they jump through a lot of hurdles to make sure everything is done properly, because their reputation in that particular space is everything. Because these people, these high net worth individuals, they will pay a lot of money to make sure that their investment gets protected. That's what they're paying for. They're paying a lot of money to make sure that their investment gets protected. So they don't want to give you this art and something happens to the art, so then they lose what they're trying to protect. They're trying to not pay taxes on it, but also they want to protect their investment in this particular art. These type of services were pretty much always for high net worth individuals. And what they created now with the passive fund is that somebody will manage your money for you. However, you're not a high net worth individual. So the way that business model works is it works off of a scale. If you reach out to Vanguard is not interested in having you talk to one of their people personally, unless you can show them that you have $50,000 at one time to invest. Now they charge you a nominal fee on the 50 grand. But all they're going to really pretty much do is push you into one of their funds and tell you, we'll see you in 50 years or 20 years or 30 years or whatever. Because they tell you off the gate, if you're interested in trying to follow hot stocks, if you're interested in trading in and out of the market, Vanguard's not the place for you. But they're not interested in talking to you until you have $50,000 in capital at one time to deliver into their fund. So they're running a scaled-based operation, but they still have their floor, right, of consulting at the 50 grand mark. And they're going to take a percentage of that, right, for the consultation. You have to understand, so their model works because of the scale. Now, you also have other investment banks that have private clients. Those private clients pay these people a lot of money to consult them on where they should invest their money. Pay them a lot of money, right? And that's what you want to understand. And you have to ask yourself, right? If you're under that $50,000 mark, you're under that 50 grand mark, and you're putting your money into this passive fund, do you even know what's going on with your money? Because they don't want you calling them asking them what's going on with your money. They just want you to give them the money because they now have, I think Vanguard has over 7 trillion in assets, and they just want you to let them invest their money, right? Because they're going to get a return on this big pool of assets, because now that they have scale, it's easier for them to get the percentages that they want because they have scale. You don't have scale. So you may be looking at dollar amount more than percentages. Why? Because you don't have scale working on your side. They do. Next con, you have to have discipline even when the market is doing bad. And this is the challenge for most people, right? If you don't know anything about the market, you don't know anything about the financial markets, you've never read a financial publication, you never read The Economist, you never read the Chicago Financial Times, you never read the Journal, you don't read Barron's, you don't read any kind of financial publication, right? And you see that your account is starting to go negative. So they send you, like I used to be in a 401k when I was working, they would send you like a 6-month update. And you see that it's going negative. Now you constantly working. They constantly taking the money out of your bank account or out of your check to put into this fund. And you're seeing that, it's negative. Or, over the 6 months, I made like $800 because the market is tanking right now. Or the market took a big dip and now you're trying to recover. The discipline, right, means that you keep your money there even though the market is doing bad. Because really the idea of these passive funds is you just put your money in there and you don't even worry about what's going on until you start getting close to retirement. That's really how these things are supposed to work. And then you just got to hope that when you get ready to retire, the market is not in a downturn. That's what you got to just hope for. That's the risk. And then the next con is that if you don't know how you made the money, you don't know why your account is negative. Okay? If you don't know how you made the money, you don't know why your account is negative. If you put your money into a passive fund and you don't know how the money is getting made, it's just magic to you because you don't understand anything about the financial markets. Then you don't know why your account is negative. Right? That's the downside. The downside of these, to me, is very similar to these people buying into these online systems of passive income in which I just give my money to this company and they're going to return my money. But I have no idea how the hell my money's even getting made. That works until it don't work. And then when it don't work, because a lot of those are Ponzi schemes, then you don't know, right? Well, how come the money's not coming in anymore? I don't know, because I don't know how I was making the money in the first place. In my personal opinion, right? So let me stop right there before I go into that. So we've gone over all the pros and cons for active investing, passive investing, right? The choice is yours. You got to pick what works best for you. Right? What kind of lifestyle do you want to live in the future? What kind of lessons do you want to show your children? What example do you want to be to your family? What is your wealth position at this current time? Many of the people I work with don't come from a history of financial success. I'm talking about real financial success. I'm not talking about that we got a few $100,000. I'm talking about like real money, right? We don't come from that because we was denied access in this society for so long. We got a lot of people that are what we call new money, that think they know what money is. I study these markets. We don't know what money is. We have no idea. We don't know what it looks like to be 4 generations in of being millionaires. We don't even understand what that looks like, right? Well, many of us are just starting down that road, okay? Where you got guys like Barron Trump. Barron Trump will never have to worry about him having to support the members of his family out of what he's doing financially. Why? Because everybody's good. His daddy got money. He got money from his grandfather, way over the $1 million that they're trying to tell us that they got. And you can go look it up as public record. His brother got money. His sister married into finance. So she got money on her side. The people she married into got money. So if he goes and works a deal, he don't ever have to worry about the members of his family needing part of his deal to support him. You don't have to worry about that. That's what people got to understand is we're still relatively new to this space, right? So what we think is money and what we think is financial legacy is really not what we think it is, even though there's nothing negative about it, but we're still babies in this space. Okay. And so, we'll be making $3 million a year out of a business or $3 million a year out of YouTube. And we think we're making all the money in the world because we don't really know what real money is. Real money. Right. And so what situation works best is based on what you want to do with your life. So I'm not for or against anything, but I'm going to give you my personal opinion. I'm here to help people understand, right, how the markets can benefit their life. I'm also here to get people to understand that black people need to have a capital movement. They don't need to have a get rich quick movement. They don't need to have a passive income movement. They need to have a capital movement, because even these black people that'll tell you how successful they are, if a person in their family wanted to start a business, even if they approved of the business plan, they would not be able to produce a $250,000 in capital to give to that person the way Bezos' family was able to give him the $250,000. Then Bezos reached out to members of his network and got $50,000 from each member of his network. You understand me? He wasn't trying to get an SBA loan for his business. He went to his parents, got $250,000. Then went to members of his network and got $50,000. That's how he started Amazon. And what we have been robbed of because of our experience in this society is the ability to accumulate capital and not have somebody come and try to take it from us. And that's one of the reasons why we can't do certain things, is because we don't have the capital. And then we're taught this space is not for you. You should just labor and hand your money to somebody else and let them get the returns, but you have no idea what's going on over there. I guarantee you, Nas, if you sat him down, he can explain to you, right, what Coinbase does. He didn't just put his money over there because some other dudes told him that's where he needed to put his money at. He can explain to you what Coinbase actually does. He understands what he was invested in, right? But he got educated around the right people that taught him the importance. Now, Nas has some advantages a lot of people don't have, but I'm trying to get you to understand is that he's not just putting his money with these folks and he out smoking and drinking and doing drugs because, I got my money with some professional, so I ain't got to worry about it. You understand me? That to me is not a good space to be in. And so what I want to really encourage people to do is look at your money the same way you got to look at your health. I'm a person that believes that you need to be active in your health. I don't believe you should just go to the doctor when you get sick. I believe that you should be active in keeping yourself healthy. I also believe that you should be active in understanding, right, how these financial markets are going to impact your life. Because they will, whether you know it or not. And many times the American worker, the American laborer is last to know that there's something going on in the macroeconomic situation that now has bled into the microeconomic situation that's impacting the company that they work for. And now they're taking the brunt of it. Why? Because you're supposed to be worrying about everything else, the Super Bowl, what Kanye West is doing, what this politician did, yada, yada, yada. And you're not supposed to be involved in these spaces. And then when you take the fall, you don't know why you took the fall, because you weren't living outside your budget, right? You went to college and got a college degree and you got a job and you was gainfully employed like they told you to do. But because you had something that was catastrophic to the market, it happened, it eliminated your financial position. And some of the same people that you was paying to advise you, when that happens, they're going to give you a very templated excuse as to why it happens, right? Because in their mind is what happened is going to create more clients for me. So they don't care. And you really got to understand that. And so I want to encourage you, if you're going to go into either side of this, I want to encourage you to really educate yourself on what you're getting involved in. You don't have to be manic about it. You don't have to be obsessed with it, but educate yourself. Understand where you're putting your money into, because many of us are laboring for our money. Therefore, we got to work hours to make our money. Even if we got a business, we got to work to make our money. Therefore, if you're putting your money somewhere, understand what you're putting your money in. What are the risks of you putting your money there, right? How can these risks impact my long-term goals? But I don't believe in putting your money to sleep. And to me, having somebody manage your money and you don't know what's going on with your money is putting your money to sleep. And I don't believe in that. If you got any questions, hit me up. Let me know how you feel about the video in the comments. This is David W. Williams, also known as Diamond Dave. I'll talk to you later.